What's going on, everyone? Players Championship this week should be a fun one. Coming off of an interesting finish at Bay Hill, Russell Henley with the incredible chip in, and Colin Morikawa just couldn't make enough birdies there down the stretch. So we saw another week where Scotty Scheffler was elite tee to green. Shane Lowry was up there. And Wyndham Clark ended up having the first round lead and then falling outside of the top 20, just like he did in Phoenix. Love Bay Hill, but I am very excited for this week's Players Championship. As far as my week, it was pretty disappointing. Had a good start to the season and hoping to keep that going. So I'm excited for this week. We have the Players Championship, obviously, at TBC Sawgrass. It's in Jacksonville. This is a par 72 that measures 7,352 yards. Now, this is not as difficult as Bay Hill. It's a course that's a little bit shorter, and it's a PGA design, so definitely more of a second shot course than the driver-friendly Bay Hill. In terms of difficulty, it's been 15th, 15th, 12th, and 16th over the last 4 years. So typically we see between 45 and 50 courses played on the PGA Tour each and every year. So that kind of gives you an idea that it's a difficult course, but not as difficult as the majors, as Bay Hill, as Torrey Pines, some of those other courses. But if you're striking the ball well, you can make a lot of birdies. You can really post a low round. If you're not, then you can definitely find the water. Water's in play on 17 of the 18 holes. The rough is thick. The fairways here are pretty narrow. They're 31 yards wide on average, and the greens are small, 5,500 square feet on average. They are pretty fast on the stent meter, and they are difficult to hit. So about 65% greens regulation last year, 60% driving accuracy, and then the average driving distance was 288 yards, which is a little bit lower than tour average. And that just goes to show that it's not a course that you can overpower off the tee. That's kind of a specialty of PTI Designs. And since the event has been moved from May to March, there have been some changes. So the greens are no longer pure Bermuda grass; they're overseeded with Poa trivalis, and then chipping is a little bit more difficult too, thanks to the overseed. So you're seeing golfers be a little bit more aggressive with their approach shots, and you get a good mix of approach shots as well. So you're getting to see 10% of approach shots between 50 and 100 yards. 32% of approach shots between 100 and 150, 30% between 150 and 200 yards, and then 19% from 200 plus. So a nice mix of approach shots. I like courses like this where it's not just a wedge fest or long iron fest. What else do we got here? The winning scores the last 4 years: Scheffler won at 20 under, Scheffler won at 17 under, Cam Smith at 13 under, and Justin Thomas at 14 under. It really just depends on the weather. And it looks like we're going to have some great conditions on Thursday and Friday. This has been an event over the last few years where there have been some huge wave advantages, a lot of wind, a lot of rain. Luckily, we don't have that for the first 2 days. So it's going to be very calm, pretty warm as well on both Thursday and Friday. I don't think we're going to see a major wave advantage, but you always want to check because the difficulty of the course definitely hinges on that wind. And when it gets windy, it's much tougher to keep your ball out of the water. And that's really half the game plan here at TBC Sawgrass. But on Saturday and Sunday, once the cut happens, it's going to be extremely windy. You got 20 plus mile per hour winds all day Saturday, and then 24 plus mile per hour wind gusts all day Sunday. So it should be, very difficult play over the weekend. Obviously, you're going to have 6 to 6 through the cut, but we will see some guys go backwards over the weekend. So don't count your chickens before they hatch in terms of your lineups to get 6 to 6 through. Might not necessarily be a good thing if they do fall apart over the weekend. Now, let's talk about the model for the week. Again, if you are a premium member at RotoGrinders, you can download the model. You can change the weights that you see in the very first row here to whatever you see fit. So if you think it's a bomber course, you can change it to be more off the tee heavy. If you think it's an iron course like me, you can change the approaches around the green, putting, birdie or better, bogey avoidance. If there's anything you'd like to see added to the model in terms of stats, I can certainly do that. So reach out to me if there's anything you'd like to see added. We have course history. I put it at 5%. Part of that's because course history here is very volatile, and that's because of all the water hazards and all the wind and the tee time advantages that we've had over the last 5 years. We didn't have an event here in 2020. That's when COVID hit. We got the first round under play, and then they canceled the event. Hideki Matsuyama was winning that. I remember because I had an outright on him that week. But yeah, that was kind of crazy. So we don't have any course history from 2020. But another reason why I only have course history at 5% is because strokes gained in Florida also accounts for some of that course history at TPC Sawgrass. So I have 5% strokes gained in Florida over the last 2 years. I have strokes gained on long and difficult courses, and then strokes gained in strong fields. Then we have the percentile finishes. So again, if you're looking for more upside, I would focus more on these two columns. If you're looking for more safety, I would focus on this column. Then we have short-term form, which is like over the last 6 months, mid-term form over the last 12 months, long-term form over the last 18 months. So you can weight those however you see fit as well. If you want guys that have just been great recently, somebody that comes to mind for me is Daniel Berger. Then bump up this one. If you want more long-term fit, I typically weigh the long-term stuff a little bit more for the really difficult courses like the majors. Then we have the field strength at 10%. Again, this takes into account the quality of fields that golfers are playing in. So let me give you an example real quick of why this is important. Let's look at Laurie Cantor. So he's been playing pretty well. He's picked up a win, a third, and a second over on the DP World Tour. However, he's been playing a really weak field. So right now he's 45th golfer in the model. If you do not account for field strength, he's going to bump up all the way to 32nd in the model. Now, I don't think he's the 32nd best golfer in this field. I don't even think he's the 45th best golfer in this field. But what the field strength index does is it helps, equalize the fields that golfers are playing in. So guys that just play in strong fields, their stats are only going to count in fields that, they're the best playing against the best, right? So their stats are naturally going to be a little bit weaker than guys that are playing against, really weak fields. So just something to keep in mind. As always, when you're playing with the weights, you want the total weight to be 100%. That is this column here. It'll automatically sum it up for you. And let's get into the picks for the week. At the very top, Scotty Scheffler, no surprise there, was great tee to green last week. Ended up losing a bunch of strokes on the green. Collin Morikawa, kind of feel for him. He's had some really brutal losses over the last couple of years. I remember the one in Hawaii last week. I mean, just make a couple more putts and he would have won. His strokes gained in Florida have been a little bit better over the last couple of years. And yeah, I mean, not the best track record here, but this feels like a perfect course for him. He's a good total driver of the ball. And he's an elite iron player. And his improvements around the green and on the greens have been, remarkable over the last 12 months. So I do like Morikawa quite a bit, at least on paper at 10-5. Xander wasn't great last week. I mean, he played pretty well in the final round, but T40 is not a great finish. Just kind of shaking off the rust after the injury. He did finish second here last year. I think I'm going to wait another week. If he plays well, then I'll, start considering him a little bit more. Rory McIlroy has been up and down at this event. He has won it before, but man, he's missed the cut 2 of the last 4 years here. Decent track record in Florida. T15 last week was a little bit disappointing. I don't have a strong take on Rory. If I'm paying this much for a golfer, I'm probably just going to get up to Scheffler. I think his floor is a little bit higher. But I do like starting with Morikawa. One note this week is that DraftKings, they lowered their min salary down to $5,000. So you're going to be able to build these stars and scrubs lineups a lot easier than you normally would. Typically, there's like nobody in the $6,000 range that we want to play. But this week, there's a lot of good plays in the $5,000 range. So it makes it so much easier to fit Scheffler, to fit Rory, to fit Xander. And I think that's naturally going to lead to a lot of stars and scrubs builds. And it's going to make the balance builds a little bit contrarian in my mind. So I do like the balance builds in tournaments. That he projects well for me, but I was looking through his game log. His approach play has not been great recently. But like everything else is carrying him, especially the short game, and that's not what we want to see with Hideki. He does have a couple top 6 finishes here in the last 2 years. I get it. The long-term matches up. The price point's good. He rates out well. So I'll probably play some Hideki. I just don't know if he'll make my main lineup. But if he ends up being 12% owned on DraftKings, I'll be overweight for sure in my MME builds. Ludwig Åberg ended up moving to this part, and he says he's been playing the Players Champion or the TPC Sawgrass quite a bit. He won at Torrey Pines a few weeks ago, finished T8 here last year. So I do like Ludwig quite a bit at 10-2. Not sure what to do with Henley. I mean, if he would have finished second last week, I would be all in on him this week because I think it's a great course fit. He's a lot like Collin Morikawa in his skill set, as is Aaron Rai, who we will talk about here in a minute. So I like the fit for Henley on paper, but man, coming off that huge win, I just don't know what it's going to do to him mentally. Maybe there's a let the foot off the gas type of situation here. So I don't know what I'm going to do with Henley. I do like Tommy Fleetwood. Check this out. Number 1 in approach in 2025. That is pretty impressive given the strength of this field. He's never won on the PGA Tour, but man, he's contended here. He's contended at the Honda. He probably should have won at the Honda. I like the ownership percentage there. So I love Fleetwood. I love Lowry, two of my favorite plays on the board when you consider ownership and price. Lowry's just been great. I mean, back-to-back top 11s in Florida. He's always been great in Florida, as you can see here. He's been great at this course too. So sign me up for both Fleetwood and Lowry. I really like their respective floors. Not going to be on Cantlay this week. Kind of let me down last week with the T31. I do like JT. Similar to Berger, he doesn't project as well because I do weigh long-term stuff a lot more than I do short-term stuff. However, I'm willing to overlook a bad projection in the model if I do think a golfer is trending in the right direction. And I do for JT. 3 top 10s in his last 5 starts. He's won the Players before. And, one of the better iron players in the field. Sungjae, T19 was a nice, kind of boost in the right direction for him. He's struggled each of the last 3 tournaments. He's been good in Florida throughout his career. He's been decent here. I don't know what his upside is, but I don't know. 9,700 just feels like a lot for a guy that's probably going to be T25. No interest in McNeely. I do like Aaron Rai. Hits a lot of fairways. Great iron player. He's been pretty good here in the past, coming off of 2 solid finishes too. So I like Aaron Rai. Sam Burns feels a little overpriced. Corey Connors, I said it last week. You play him at the Arnold Palmer, you play him at the Players, you play him at the Masters. Every single year, he crushes all 3. Finished 3rd last week at Bay Hill. I fully expect him to, dominate once again this week. Great ball striker, and for whatever reason, this is the time of year where he always plays his best. I like Siwoo Kim. He's won here before. Wyndham Clark feels overpriced. He does have the ability to go really low, but I think he's also got the ability to blow up. So he's more of a showdown play in my eyes. Scott's won the Players before and the Masters actually a long time ago. He was just a young lad when he ended up winning here. Hasn't been great over. I just think he's like a solid floor play. I don't know if he has top 10 upside this week. Finau, not sure what to do with him. No strong take there. I do like Sepp Straka. He's been on fire in both of the Florida events. He's contended at the Open, so he doesn't mind a strong field. Then we have Denny's been playing a little bit better. I like Denny. I like Keegan. Both, opposite skill sets. Keegan's more of a ball striker, but he has been much better with the short game recently. And then Denny's more of a short game guy that's been better with the ball striking recently. Moonwoo contended here a couple years ago, but I don't know about the course fit. He's finally rating out well for me, which it took a very long time for him to rate out well in my model. He was always overpriced, but now it seems like people are not playing him as much, so his prices have come down. I do like Berger. I don't think I'm going to get to 20%, but I'll probably have 15% in my MME builds. He's just been awesome over the last 4 events. Lives in Florida. Good track record at the Players too. Doug Gim, 5,600, and he's 26 in the model. Point per dollar, favorite play on the board. The last time he teed it up was at PGA National, which is also in Florida. He gained 11 strokes ball striking, which is just unreal. He's fairways and greens type of guy. So I do like Doug Gim a lot at 5,600. And in those builds, it's so easy to get up to Scheffler, to get up to Rory, to get up to whoever you want, or you can play 2 of the 10K guys. I like Ben Griffin a little bit. Anytime we get him on a little bit shorter courses, this isn't necessarily short, but he's a guy that kind of came onto the scene in 2023. I think he was kind of in the mix on Saturday, ended up blowing up, but everyone was saying, who's this accountant? It's contending at the Players. So that was kind of funny. Hovland's way down here. The ball striking's been a little bit better, and he does have good course history here, but man, it's tough to pay that price for him right now. He just hasn't shown anything. I mean, 51st, 55th, 22nd, miscut, 36. So he's just not been playing his best. I do like Harmon a little bit. Seabez always plays well on these Bermuda courses. Michael Kim's been on fire. 2nd, 13th, 13th, 6th, and 4th. Did miss the cut here last year, but man, he's been playing awesome. So I'll play some Michael Kim for sure. I'll play some Jason Day. Tom Kim, I think it's a good course fit for him. He's only played here once, T51. Hasn't been in the best of form, so maybe not a ton of Tom Kim at 8,500, but I think he's interesting. Putnam rates out well for me. If there's anybody else. Again, Cantor, nobody's going to play him really. If you want to play him, he's been in great form over on the DP World Tour. Taylor Moore rates out well for me. Chan Kim, let's see where he is in the model. So he made the cut here last year. He's been solid the last 3 events, and he's min salary, $5,000, 72nd in the model. So projected to miss the cut, but not by much. 0% ownership. So if you want a guy that's super low owned, for those stars and scrubs build. I certainly think he could do worse than Chan Kim. Anyway, want to get out of here. The guys I'm betting this week, I have outrights on Justin Thomas, Shane Lowry, Nick Taylor, who I didn't mention. I want to bring up Nick Taylor. So he's been on fire with his irons. As you can see here, third in strokes gained approach in 2025. And, he's a very good putter too. So guy that I like quite a bit. He's at 120 to 1. And then I've also bet Aaron Rye at 75 to 1. So we have JC at 25, Lowry at 40, Rye at 75, and Nick Taylor at 120. So yeah, that'll do it. If you don't mind, leave a thumbs up. Appreciate you watching these videos. And watching, leaving a thumbs up, leaving a comment. They all help. So appreciate it. If you have any questions, let me know. Good luck at the players. We'll see you back here next week.